It'll come up right now. Hello, everybody.
How are you?
Are you good? I trust that your evening has been well, that you've either got some food in your tummies or in your tummies. Listen to Daddy. In your tummy, you've had some chippies. Or you've got some food smelling nice in the background. Peter Dishington, I bet you have some food smelling nice in the background.
Probably not waffles this evening.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Hey, Bev. Hello, Isaac. How are you doing?
Hey, Jackie.
What a superstar she is, huh?
Good evening to you all.
Trousers is there.
Hey,
G'day, mate.
Trousers.
We miss you, Trousers. We really do. And
I was going to say, he's probably talking to you when he's saying beautiful people.
I'm sure he is. I'm sure he is. That's how you normally refer to me, as
That's how I refer
beautiful
to you.
people,
That's
because of my split personalities too, I guess. So,
Yes.
hey, you, Danny. How you doing? And lovely Laura. If you all get a chance, I don't know if we'll see Gary. Oh, Gary Barney is there. Can we all have a little bit of a hey to Liz as well?
Hey,
If you guys get a chance to type in there, go, hey Liz Barnier. We are so glad that you are out of hospital looking fantastic,
Yes, you are.
with a lovely bit of metal in your leg as a souvenir.
Yeah. It's nice when they leave that with you, isn't it?
It was, I mean, our hospitals do a remarkable
There
job,
she is.
don't they? There she is. Hey Liz, how you doing?
Hey, Tanya.
Very good. All right, so 7 o'clock. Let's dive in. Can I start with our usual sort of sense of patter that basically says, look, normally I would say tonight is not the night for you to try and play stump the pastor.
Yeah.
But we've been sitting here because we asked some of our lead team earlier in the evening, hey, could you ask some questions, and maybe questions that we feel like society
Matt
or,
asked.
sort of people who are exploring faith have been asking.
Yeah.
And can we kind of say to you guys in love, we actually don't like you very
No.
much, because some of the questions you sent through are just absolute brain busters.
Yes.
I'm gonna have a crack at a couple anyway. I think you've got a couple of really good ones there. But normally we would say this is not how do you play stump the pastor, but we kind of put a line through that. The Karen's actually on Facebook, so if you'd like to bring up some more questions in this space, feel free. We would love those questions to come through in real time. We will try and get to those ones. If you would like to be able to send some other questions on to me, and we're friends on Facebook/Messenger, you can send them through, and there is a chance that I will get to them here. We're not guaranteeing we're going to get through all of the questions tonight, and we're really comfortable if you ask a question and we go, I'm just so sorry, I don't know. So we can do that.
Absolutely.
The other thing is, also you've got a couple of minutes. Why don't you jump on and just, grab a friend and say, hey, look, there's two silly looking people and they're going to make a fool of themselves tonight asking deep theological questions with no theological training.
You shouldn't include us both in that.
No, I really shouldn't. But anyway,
Hey, Lisa.
hey, how cool is that? Hey, Liz, how you doing?
Beck.
It's a wonderful. All right, so that's sort of what we're doing. We'll close out in around about 7:30 is kind of our goal. So, Karen, first question to you tonight was it this one or was it this one? What one did you want to do? This one?
Was it about something about movies or something?
Oh, I was going to ask you what song is speaking to you right now and
what
why.
song is speaking to me right now? I have a whole list of songs that I like to listen to. Beautiful Day. I really love that song by Jesus Culture because it's just upbeat and it reminds me that every day is a beautiful day, whatever I'm facing, however I'm feeling, that it's just the day that I have, so I get an opportunity to engage in it.
Fantastic.
So I love that. And Breakthrough by Red Rocks Worship. I love that song. It's just a beautiful song about the declaration of Jesus. It's just, he's a defender of our heart, he's a defender of our soul. He's an overcomer. He's just with us. I love the power in that, the declaration of that he's breaking chains, he's breaking mountains, just the prayer and declaration just for heaven to open wide over us in our circumstances,
Fantastic.
in our life. So,
Yeah. Hey, why don't you just take a minute too, because there might actually be a few other people who are going, I don't know how to find these songs. So, Ali, I know that you're a worshipper at heart. Hello. But why don't you guys put a few of the songs up too that you're listening to as well?
Yeah.
And just exactly right. And then, because we've also, I mean, you can find these things on Spotify. It might just be something you can go and trick through and go, I'm going to create my own little playlist. So, yeah, that's a great answer. Can I ask you a second question as well while we're on it? I really do like this question. If you were to ask leaders in our church for, I don't necessarily know the one thing, but if you were to ask the leaders in our church for a thing, what would it be? And you're not sort of talking about $50.
Oh, right. I don't think I've ever asked anybody for that. But
there's always a chance.
There's always a chance. Yeah, you're right. It's not one thing, because I think as leaders there's so many things that we have an opportunity to bring to the table, to bring to our acts of service. But really, as I've just been reflecting on this, just really in the last little while, I was thinking just that we are sure that we remember that everybody who comes along our path, whether that is walking through the church, coming online, wherever we're walking during the day, whether it's walking into the supermarket or walking into our workplace, whatever opportunity we do as leaders, I think there's something inherent that we carry just about loving people and taking that a step further to understand that everyone has a backstory.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Everybody has a journey.
Yeah.
Everybody comes into church, comes into a gathering, comes into a place looking for something, asking questions, going, there has to be something more, carrying baggage with them. And our opportunity just to be reminded, we have to remind ourselves sometimes of how loved and how valued they are, just as God has loved and valued us.
Yeah.
Because sometimes in the process of wanting to do things well and in our own character and in our own, I suppose, little idiosyncrasies, it's easy not to understand other people. It's easy to sometimes get offended. It's easy to not really appreciate, because maybe what we're walking through, that other people are journeying through something as well.
It's really good.
So just to be mindful of that, because we all know that's our heart. Our heart is to see people connected. Our heart is not to heal people. Our heart is not to save them. Our heart is to open the door to the one who does all of that.
Oh, yes. So, I'm wondering where you're going then for a minute. I'm freaking out, but that's awesome.
Oh, no, well, we do. We want to physically open the door, but it's not our job it's our job sometimes to sit and listen. It's our job to sit and grieve. It's our job to bring a meal. It's our job to love. It's our job to pray. And they're actually, it's a joy of what we get to do. It's that fantastic opportunity, but it's more than that, to go, I'm not the one who can solve this. That's not what I'm called to do. But if I can open a door to the one, to Jesus, who can bring healing, who can bring peace, who can bring, wholeness, that we can't even really begin to fathom the way that he loves people, then it helps us as we're leading. It's just not about us. You remember, it's not about us. It's about the other person. It's about that person there. It's about what they've walked through. So that would just be my encouragement, because that's what I have to continue to journey through. So, yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's really good.
Yeah, and I love, actually I had a scripture here, 1 Peter 5:6, it talks about humbling yourselves, therefore under the mighty hand of God, so that at the proper time he may exalt you. I just think there is power in humbling ourselves. That Jesus was actually, he became the lowest of the low. And I mean, obviously we know that when he went to the cross, but it was before that. It was washing the disciples' feet. It was when he saw the enemy at work, and the enemy working through Judas, and he saw the opportunity there, what was going to happen. Jesus actually decided to get down and wash his disciples' feet. He said, this is my response to what I see, attack on people, attack on what's happening here. I'm actually going to get down as low as I can possibly go to see other people elevated. I
love that.
So anyway, I'll just get off mine.
No, I couldn't see this. Incredible. Just incredible.
You go.
Oh, yeah. First of all, thank you for putting all those songs up. I absolutely love that. And just again to see friends, seeing Binu from India, we're so proud of you. To see some of our school teachers up there, Sue Dishington, Sam Harris, Isaac Smith. Thank you guys too for helping us transition our kids back into school. And I guess, I'm going to have a crack at a question in just a second. But we really also just want to affirm to you just how phenomenally proud of you as a community of faith that we actually are. You know, we were talking in the car about what is the church, and one of the sort of the Greek words for church is ecclesia. It means it's not just meaning the body. It's not meaning a building. It is the church is in itself a bit of a paradox. It's a little bit of it's a building and it's a body.
Yes.
You know, it never changes, but it's always changing.
Yeah.
And this ecclesia means called together, but having been called out from the world and called together. And as a group of people who carry faith, along with carrying questions and the tension that exists there, that you continue to love into a world which is becoming more and more loveless and more selfish, as people who continue to give and to reach out and to bless one another, who continue to hope, who continue to gather in a world which continues to say, I don't need to gather. Guys, we're just so proud of you and just so honoured to be part of this ecclesia, this part of the body that's called Abundant Life Church. So thank you for putting those songs up. Thank you for staying the worshippers. My jam, I know I saw the wonderful Tanya Jordan put up hers, but mine is Rattle by Elevation. This is the sound of dry bones rattling. You know, you're not going to run out of miracles anytime soon. I can't get that loud enough. That's just fantastic. So, to our friends who wrote this question in, and it is a question that I guess society, that our own hearts ask, that people who are questioning not so much the existence of God, but certainly how God moves into our existence, is actually asking, and how do I approach Him? How do I give my life to Him and in trust? I think is one of those things, and it's actually the question of suffering. One of my first reflections as we start saying, okay, so why is there suffering in the world, is that you need to understand that while we throw this one at God, you know, all the other faiths have to have a response to this as well. Don't just go, oh, you Christians, you don't have an answer for this. So what do the Muslims say? What do the Buddhists say? What do all these other religions say about suffering? Honestly, friends, the answer that I find stacking up over and over again as being the most realistic, as being the most accessible, as being the most applicable answer to suffering is actually found in the person of Jesus. So as much as we can talk theology, we get to go, no. These questions are being asked all over the globe by all the major religions. And you know what? It's good to be able to ask that question. So the question was framed like this: if God is all loving, created this beautiful planet, then why are people suffering and why are innocents dying? And so if you'll allow me, and Karen will tap me on the leg if I either get too preachy or go too long, because again, this is books that doctorates are written on. These are topics for whole, hours and hours of seminar, thinking, teaching, and some of the best apologists on the planet have wrestled with this in numerous forums. So I'm going to have a stab at it just in a couple of minutes. But why is there suffering, and why does God allow suffering? So if you want to extend your hands to me right now and pray, but just open your hearts up. I guess my first point would be that the place that question most readily rises is actually in a place of grieving and suffering in and of itself. Yes. So if someone's saying, where is God in suffering? Maybe, beloved, maybe just another question that you could ask is, hey, are you doing okay? Because sometimes it's actually not, I don't want an answer in my head. I actually need an answer in my heart. And that the question is, why is there suffering, and why are bad things happening to good people, is actually a resonance. It's an echo of something going on inside of them. So maybe the question is actually not the question. Yeah, that's very good. Maybe the question is actually not, why is there suffering? Why did that bad thing happen to that beautiful baby? But as opposed to that, hey, are you doing okay? Where is your identity? How can I help you? How can I journey with you? That'll be my first thought in this question. I will have a crack at it, but in that question. The second thing I would often say, and I've often had to bring myself back, is that when answering a question on suffering, sometimes the worst thing I can actually do in trying to give an answer is to speak. We were reflecting just before that when Job lost everything, lost all of his children, lost his home, lost his health. His wife basically said, "You're covered in sores, you're covered in wounds, just curse God and die." He was so impoverished in every single area of his life. And then his friends turn up, and they seek throughout most of the book of Job to try and give him answers. Right? Their best moment in terms of helping Job understand pain, suffering, and grief is when they just sit with him. When they just shut up for 5 seconds and allow the grief to be present, when they allow the pain to be present, and they allow themselves to be present to his pain. And that is one of the most comforting and undeniable ways that we can demonstrate the love and the presence of God in the midst of pain, is to not have to give an answer. We feel like we have to give an answer. Just be present. Just turn up. Just sit and say nothing. Because often in a time of insanity, even a sane answer is not going to be able to be absorbed or even understood. So if in a moment of grief, and grief can actually overwhelm, if we're trying to bring a clear, concise answer in there, you don't need to defend God. You don't need to stand up for him. He's an awfully big God. He can stand up for himself. What he's asking you to do is not defend him, but represent him in presence. And that's a good answer right there. Okay. Can I have another crack? Do you want to?
No, you haven't quite finished answering.
I haven't even started answering it. I'm only framing up a couple of ways of approaching the problem.
Up the question.
But am I doing okay?
Great.
Yeah. Do you want me to keep going?
Yes.
Okay. So, what I do is then I would lean where I've lost my notes because I actually got a chance to make a few notes. I would lean into what the late great Ravi Zacharias spoke about in terms of this question. There are 4 things we know about God. We know that he is all-powerful, that he is all-loving. He is omni in these areas. Then we also know that he is all-wise and he is eternal. The dilemma that we have with our faith, and it's a dilemma and it's an area of stretching for us, and it requires faith, is that in the midst of the love and the power, in the midst of the wisdom and the eternity, in slips pain and suffering. And we actually answer the question of why is there pain and suffering in those 4 attributes of God. He is loving, he is powerful, and there is pain, but he is all wise and he is eternal. And so in that process, we can actually have a crack at going, why and how do I contextualize, how do I understand this pain? So when we talk about him being all-powerful, we're actually asking a question of a God who is the creator of heaven and earth. And I honestly believe that. The concept of something one day exploding and out of that came everything, that requires tremendous faith. Even Stephen Hawkins, who was the sort of the great physicist, etc., he actually is even willing to contend that the existence of life at the Big Bang almost was seeded by an extraterrestrial being. He just can't define what the extraterrestrial being is, right? And they say Christians have got great faith. I'm telling you, atheists have got faith I want the faith like an atheist. They believe that nothing exploded. This is a God who is all loving and all powerful, that he created us and he has not left us alone. He is with us in pain and suffering. The concept of the Big Bang actually opening up is just so phenomenal that in those early picoseconds, the picosecond is the fraction of a second next to the picosecond. I got excited when I learnt this, right? The picosecond is how the amount of time that light takes to traverse the breadth of one hair. So light travelling at the speed of light, how long does it take to cover a hair's breadth? That's a picosecond. That's pretty amazing, isn't it? So in the picoseconds of creation, for everything to have lined up, and actually that's just one of the variables for nothing to become this here today, right? is just mind-boggling faith. We actually have a creator. He knows who you are, and even in pain and suffering, he is with you in that. He did not create you to leave you alone. But he understands that there is a something which pain and suffering trains in us, rises up in us, draws us near to him in that, causes us to throw off human limitations and step into the supernatural, both identity and a way of outworking that he actually has, to be able to identify both with his son and then with him and his purpose, so that we're leaving behind fleshly and earthly restraints and stepping into that, because he is all loving, he is all powerful, he is wise, and he is eternal. Look, I have a maybe it's not pain and suffering, but I remember when we were first married, I was working a job. I loved this job. I was teaching in a school I was really happy with, and they said, this position that you're filling part-time, or you know, we want to casually, we want to make it permanent. They actually said, this is the job that you're doing. We want to write the job description for you. We love you. You're fitting in well here. We want you to be part of this, right? And so they wrote the job description for me. I actually filled out the description with one of the guys who was going to be the interviewers of the job. I could not have been more of a shoo-in for this job. It was perfect, full-time on the Central Coast where there was no full-time work, and I was an absolute shoo-in. I was so confident that when I didn't get invited for an interview, I just thought that it overlooked me. And so I rang up and I said, hey, I'm just wondering, when is my interview for this teaching position? And they asked me my name, and I said, it's Matt Sharples. I'm like, duh, I'm going to get the job. And they said, oh, sorry, you didn't even get an interview. And I was shattered, remember? I was gutted. How could I not even get an interview? I was so embarrassed. I thought, what has gone wrong? I felt betrayed. I felt all this stuff. And my confidence was absolutely shattered. But the thing is, if I had got what I wanted, I wouldn't be here now.
No,
We would have.
right.
I don't think we'd be married, to be honest. I mean, I was addicted to drugs. I was running, I was angry. We were not connecting. And because God actually allowed hardship to come in, I understand there's a difference between hardship and suffering. But because he allowed that to come into my world, he actually opened up something. I'll finish by saying this, and it has been of great comfort to me. But our great mentor, Graham Cook, sort of an external mentor, I've only ever shaken his hand once. But he says that God allows in his wisdom what he could prevent in his power. And so there are no easy answers. Sometimes the question of why is there suffering comes from out of trust. It comes out of a place of fear. It comes out of a place of personal pain. It comes out of a bigger question of, can I trust this God with this pain? He is not the author of pain. He is not the architect of pain. That is the devil's domain. But he is with us in the pain. And he actually, so I don't know if I've had I gave it enough time to give it a crack. I sort of hope that there's some questions with that. What I would finish by saying is, that when those questions of fear, pain, disappointment, trust come up, when there is suffering in your world, and we have known suffering when it comes to losing children and all manner of different pain throughout our life, that some of it's happened to us, some of it's happened because of my own stupidity, etc. But use those times to run to God, not run from God. Can suffering lead us to God? C.S. Lewis says that pain is God's megaphone. He shouts to us in this pain, you are not alone, look up, I am here. So,
very good.
Yeah, sure. Have we had any other live questions come through?
No, but no live questions.
No live questions come through. All right. So can I ask, where would you like to go with any of these questions? How can we leave that family at this time? Would you like to do this? I tell you, I think we should do this one.
Okay.
Just to try and lighten it up a little bit. We've only got another minute or two. Maybe you've got time for one more question to come through. But let me ask this. I love you getting to know my absolute best friend. We've been together, was it last week? 30,
a while.
38 years?
No, it's not 38 years.
47 years.
It's not that long either.
It's longer.
It's not.
We've been together for a long
question.
time.
A long
Just
time.
ask the question.
Ask the question.
All right. What would be your favourite book and why? Or one of your favourite books
One of
and
my
why?
favourite books. It's tough actually. I don't have probably a favourite book. I love to read lots of different books. But I do love Jane Austen as an author. I think just looking at the issues facing women in the 18th century and just her wit, her humour, her poise as she looks at how women actually had to traverse those times.
It's fantastic.
So I appreciate that. They're always, that the heroines are just beautiful figures that you fall in love with as they journey to a place of humility actually, but humility through strength and grace. So I kind of, I relate to that. I also love reading lots of Christian authors actually, and it just depends on whatever God brings my way at any particular time. I love Chris Bellerton. I love Priscilla
really
Shira.
Yep.
So
Good.
enjoy those.
Good. Do you want to tell us about a favourite movie
Favourite movie?
or movies, trilogy? If you had to take one movie to a desert island, what would it be?
Right, I would take Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Tom, my son-in-law, has just watched the whole.
Proud of you, buddy.
Not just trilogy, but the whole epic saga. Very proud of you, Tom. And I started watching Star Wars when I was quite young, actually. But again, it's good overcoming evil. It's all about identity and knowing who you are and whose
Fantastic.
you are. And I love that. Yeah.
Fantastic.
So that would be for me.
Great. All right. So I'm gonna have a crack at answering one more, and if nothing else comes through, nothing else has come through. All right. So I actually like. I'm gonna help paraphrase this question just a fraction. The question is, how can we lead our families at this time? Okay, so if we want to sort of maybe put this into a wider societal sense, well, I'm going to ask this question this way: what role does the church play in helping us traverse this current season of leading our family or dealing with work? Right? How's that? Yep. So our friends, our workmates, some of our family would be going, seriously, you give money, you serve, you hang out online, you pray to a God you can't see, you read a book that was written by blah 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 blah. So what on earth is the current purpose of the church in this day and age? That's a good question. That's a good question. All right, so I would say it this way, that I think that the church is not actually a building that you go to.
No.
I think the church, we often don't talk about the church, although we mentioned the ecclesia, the called out and set apart part of the body. I like it as being a community of faith.
Yeah.
I like it as being, a family of people that have got a similar purpose and that are heading in a similar direction, that allow the unique flavours, fragrances, and gifts that are in each of us to come to the surface, celebrating those and then sharpening those, that we would actually, in that combined family sense, shine as we've been created to shine, and then bear the fruit that God intended for us to bear. That when that fruit actually needs pruning, or when that fruit is not ready to be picked yet, and someone can, with wisdom or as a mother or father, say, well, don't start giving that away yet, you've got some more maturing. That sense of family, which is so broken down today, this family of faith, this community of believers, actually creates a fabric, as opposed to just a set of rules that we've found our values on, but a fabric which I think for me, for us, for our family, sort of wraps us up. We feel like it keeps us safe. We feel like it keeps us protected. We feel like it doesn't allow us to wander too far off after lies.
Yeah, very much.
I think it keeps us focusing not just on our own needs, but all on others. So
Yeah, great.
maybe there's some thoughts in there as to why church, how is church applicable in modern society. It's not a club. It's not a place where you get told how you should live.
No.
It's a place that you get released to live, and that people are backing you in. We talk about caring, connecting, and engaging. It is that place that we are actually connecting in with each other, checking in on each other, caring for one another, and seeing those gifts come and go. So there's some. Thank you very much, Laura. It's been fantastic being with you tonight. We've got a whole smash of connect groups. We're talking about the church and why the church. Particularly, there's never been more relevant to us to carry faith in a world which has been so rocked, has been so attacked, has been so lied to about where strength is, where hope is found, what goodness is. And so we love being able to come together as a church, not necessarily in a building for a program, but as a group of people who carry a hope, carry a truth, and are willing to sort of strengthen each other up. So we've got connect groups that we would love to be able to sort of see us feeding in on. We've got our podcast on Spotify now. We had Living What We Learned last night. We've got communion tomorrow night. We've got our online gathering on Sunday morning. We've got Facebook that you can sort of ask us some questions on. And I guess we just don't need to do social isolation.
No, we don't. No.
So we're absolutely here for you. Do you want to say anything else?
No, I'd like to pray though. It's probably time that we say see you later. So I'll just pray, and then we'll say adios. So Father, we just want to thank you for the opportunity just to gather with people, Lord, online, but just an opportunity just to dive a little bit deeper, ask a few questions that maybe we don't always get to ask, or uncomfortable questions, Father, and thank you for the opportunity to answer just from our own personal experience and just your revelation to us, Father, as we've journeyed through life. Thank you, Lord, that we get to do it with people who we love, who, Father, just have an agreement in faith, just continue just to press in and believe your word, Father, and believe the promises that you have over us personally, over this community, Father, and they're promises to prosper us. They're not promises to harm us. Father, I just really pray for the answers that have been given tonight, that people will reach out and ask further questions, Father.
That's awesome.
Thank you that you're with us in the midst of our pain. Thank you that you're with us in the midst of our suffering, and it doesn't diminish what anybody's experiencing, Father. It doesn't make it less real. It doesn't mean it doesn't happen, but thank you that you're with us anyway, Father.
Thank you, Jesus.
Just thank you for your love and for your value, Father, that you have for each and every person online with us tonight. Lord Jesus, we just ask your blessing as we go. So thank you.
Amen. Yeah, wonderful. Hey, I really thank you that you actually prayed that people would keep asking questions, because this isn't our only time to ask questions, to be together, stay connected. We're actually off to our Connect group. We're kind of hoping that this might be our last Zoom Connect, and we can actually start coming back together in person. Keep watching this space as how we do re-entry as that community of faith, as that family, as the church. Keep watching how we're coming back and doing re-entry. But we're here for you. We love you. God bless you.
Go and love somebody.
Go and love somebody.
See you.
Love you. Bye.
Bye-bye.